Hey there, welcome back to the final part of this week's episode of Leading Our Own Way. I hope you found inspiration in our guest journey this week. Today, we'll leave you with some key takeaways and actionable insights that you can lean on. Now let's wrap up with some powerful lessons that can help guide you on your own path. Don't forget to tune in for a brand new guest next week on Monday. But for now, enjoy this week's. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't already as well. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. So with yours, though, I feel maybe it seems like it was two things: repeated behavior. So meaning you didn't want to go down the road your mum was going down. I don't mean in terms of alcohol, but the connection side of it. Yeah. And then obviously the fear of failure as a mother.
Yeah. I think I was just petrified I was going to get it wrong, and I didn't know what that was, but I didn't want to get it. I didn't want to get it wrong. I wanted to get everything right. And me and Tom were very routine people, so we did get both the kids in a routine from 2 weeks old. And some people don't agree with it, but that's fine. It worked for us. And we were very kind of regimented with it, but that also then did cause me anxiety because I'm like, well, the book says she should be asleep now and she's not asleep. That probably didn't help.
No, it definitely didn't. Yeah, the books are great, but you've got to use them as a bit of a skeleton the skeleton structures. This is the rough edge, but go with the feel of your house and your personality, and I call it the feel of the room. Right, you got to kind of just go with the feel of the room. And usually, if they're not awake, I'm not very good at this. I definitely learned a lot off my partner because she was amazing and she seemed so switched on. But she always used to say, "Look, it's our baby trying to talk to us. If they're hungry." They're trying to talk to us, but they don't know how to tell us they're hungry or they're not tired or whatever it may be. So we're kind of back to the beginning of where we left off at the beginning. Now we're at that perfect point. This is the point where you not long have to go back to work and then get that happy news of being made redundant. And then into that, boom, let's start our business. How long into your business? I think I know. You've been seeing Karim for 4 months now, so it was about 3 months after you started your business you started seeing Karim?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
And you went to see Karim around, I suppose, the fear of failure, which connects with parenting, childhood as well.
And that, funnily enough, since doing hypnotherapy, I've noticed a huge change in my parenting. A lot more, not all the time, but I'm a lot more present. I'm a lot more patient. And I'm a lot more kind of, accepting of things, that is what it is, that they're 3 and 15-month-old kind of thing. So, I've noticed a big change from doing the hypnotherapy, even though it's not been focused on parenting, but it has that knock-on effect.
So if you were to talk to Karim about parenting, like he has his categories, what category do you think that would fall under?
Oh, with the emotion?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't make that clear, but I felt like you knew what I would mean. But with the emotions,
I'm trying to remember the emotions again. So it's hurt, guilt, anger,
fear, shame.
I don't know. I think with the parenting, I just get really stress, not the word. It's a kind of, for me, it's like a control thing, and you can't. That was also when I was feeling low with after the kids, because I felt like I didn't have a control. I felt like I was losing control. So I don't know what that feeling would be, but yes, one thing I would want to work on is I don't have as much, but I do have a short fuse. Like I'll be like chill, but eventually if you keep pushing my buttons, I'll go, ugh, and I will raise my voice, and I really hate raising my voice. One, because it doesn't work, and two, it just makes me feel bad having shouted, because I was shouted at as a kid and it's not nice, and I really don't want to do it. So I don't know what emotion that would be, but yeah.
You know, maybe we need to work. Maybe I should see that, because sometimes I'm like, he's not listened to the fifth time. My voice raises.
And it's quite funny. I once said to my daughter, I was trying to get her, it's always when I'm trying to get her dressed. Like it just,
Oh,
I'm like, why does it have to be this difficult? Like I just don't I'm like, can we just get dressed? Anyway, and I was trying to get her dressed. We had a swimming lesson or something. We had somewhere where we had to be somewhere in time, and she wasn't listening to me. And I just went, I was like, will you just listen to me? And she looked at me, she went, why are you shouting? It's just like, because it's supposed to scare you, but it doesn't work. So shouting's pointless.
pointless. It works on some kids. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do still, because you might inflict some form of trauma on them later.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, you know, some kids do get scared and
Yeah, not with me.
and react.
Not
My
with
son's
you.
like, whatever, mate. So with all the, because you mentioned earlier you've suffered with a little bit of anxiety, do you
Mm-mm.
feel like you've cleared that now? Do you feel like you've worked through it, or is it something that still hits you?
Oh, look,
Or do you ever fully recover from it?
no, I think there's always, the more work I do, the more feel there's still to uncover. Like I like to step it back a little bit before I started seeing Karim. I was seeing a life coach and a therapist, and one of the things that my life coach identified really early on was because if you've seen a coach and therapist, they always ask you, how does that make you feel? And I used to hate it. I'm like, God, why does she keep asking me about my feelings? And I'm like, I don't know. And she was like, you have trouble identifying feelings. I couldn't identify my feelings. And I couldn't identify things that were going on in my body, because they would all say, and what sensation is that in your body? I'm like, I don't understand this question. Like I genuinely, it would confuse me. I'm like, why are they asking me the feelings in my body? And I couldn't, like, I was like, but it's because I was so disconnected with myself.
Mm.
So I was doing, I've come a long way since then. So now when someone says, how does that make you feel? I can identify that. And I actually do that with my daughter as well. We talk about, I'm like, what does that make you feel like? What does it feel like in your body? And we talk about feelings a lot. That was something my therapist said to do. She was like, as you practice it with your child, and you can reparent yourself through that.
Mm.
So I've learned a lot to be able to identify feelings, actually identify sensations. So when I'm feeling something, I can actually feel it in my body now. And I've just got a better ability to take a step back and breathe and notice it. I think for me is I can actually now notice it, whereas before I couldn't even know, because I was so disconnected from myself.
Mm.
I could be really stressed or really anxious, and I would just keep going and going and going. I couldn't even recognize it myself, but now I can. So it's like, I don't think you're ever cured. I think, the more work I do on myself, the more I realize there's so much more to do. Like each session I uncover more and more. But I just keep noticing huge improvements each session that I do. And I'm always a bit like, oh, what am I going to uncover next?
Yeah, it's actually become quite exciting now for you.
I actually love it. Like I actually look forward to the sessions. I do really enjoy it. And yeah, I've only been triggered once. But other than that, it's always been like a really good experience.
So my side lights just on my office has just turned off. It's on a timer to go off at 10:45 for some
Oh,
reason. It's normally in the hall. I have to bring the light out to
yeah.
this office for that. Anyway, yeah. So you just quickly then on that
Mm,
subject,
mm,
you probably felt disconnected because you were never asked. Not that you in the
mm,
old days, not that
mm,
you're old, but you know what I mean. I think you're younger than me, but we didn't get asked to feel, did we? We didn't get
no.
asked to acknowledge. Now we get it's everywhere. We're getting asked to
Mm,
feel and discuss the feelings, which is great.
yeah,
I don't have a problem with that
yeah,
at all. But you were probably so disconnected because you were never asked to feel, or never feelings were acknowledged. Let's say.
yeah.
Um, with I think there's that messy middle bit. You were so disconnected, but first of all, my first part of the question is: do you obviously feel connected now?
Yeah, I think I could be more connected.
Sure.
But yeah, I definitely feel a lot more connected considering I've only been doing it this year. Yeah.
So what? So from the life coach asking you about your feelings and identifying that you are disconnected,
Mm.
was it them who helped you get disconnected, or was it the sessions
No.
with Karim?
No, so the life coach was really helping me as I was like setting up the business and kind of working, and then we kind of identified that I've got like confidence issues and things like because she was saying I was just so unconfident. She was like, but I don't understand, like you've been doing marketing 14 years, you know what you're doing, but
Mm.
it's like well, it's not logical. Um, but it was actually the life coach that said when I couldn't identify feelings, she said this could be, an inner child, perhaps there's been a trauma in your childhood. And I couldn't answer her. Like and I did actually feel it. I felt it in my throat and I could feel my eyes watering. And I really wanted to say yeah, but I couldn't. And I just
Mm.
kind of went like that. And then we got to the end of the session. She was like, so do you want to keep working together? And that's when because obviously if you do want to work on, childhood trauma, you don't do that with the life coach, you do that with the psychologist. And when she said, do you want to keep working together? I just burst into tears. And like looking back on it now, I can smile, but I burst into tears. I said, "No, I think I need to see a therapist." So, so but it wasn't until her saying that because I'd done a really good job of compartmentalizing everything and kind of just putting it to the side and just getting on with life and just like, okay, yeah, that happened, but I'm fine now. And it
Mm.
wasn't until that life coach brought up quite a few of those things that I thought, it was in my head. I thought, wait, this is going to prevent me further in my business. And it wasn't until I made that connection, I thought, I need to work on this. And that's when I went to see a therapist because any other time, I thought, oh, I should probably look into my past and maybe try and heal a little bit. But I was also like, oh, psychologist is quite expensive. I don't really need to do that. But it wasn't until that moment that I did. So then, yeah, I saw a psychologist for a few sessions, which was really helpful. Well, it was helpful. But then when I started seeing Karim and just what he was able to do in one session, I just wasn't getting anywhere close to with my psychologist. Not to, say not to knock psychologists, they're amazing.
Mm.
But for me, I'm someone that likes to get into it, and that's what crime could do, which I just wasn't getting there with the psychologist. I felt like I was going around in circles a little bit.
Amazing. Yeah, it's powerful, that stuff, isn't it? Wow. Um, I don't think I've ever asked a question like this before, but I need to replay it in my mind of how I was going to ask it. To be fair, the anything that we just established it was a journey. It is a
Mm.
journey. We're
Yeah.
always going to be working on ourselves to the point
Mhm.
that we leave. But is there anything that you have conquered, have fixed, have moved on? Thoughts out of your head? Anything? Is there anything that you have surpassed and gone? I'm clear of that now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think this sadness around my upbringing, I'd get quite emotional a lot. Like I would have struggled to speak to you so openly about this without getting emotional.
Mm.
Um that was Karim. Karim actually cleared the sadness. I think I told you, like there was one session that I got triggered and he had a separate session with me to help. He was like, do you want to remove the sadness? I was like, yes, please. So
Please, yeah.
we've removed that, and I've noticed it now because when I get into hard conversations with my mom or my sister, I feel it still. It's not like I'm cold,
Yeah.
but it doesn't throw me for a week, and it doesn't like fill me with dread and make me feel really upset. So I can kind of move past that. And I think that's also been the spark for, so I went teetotal 2 months ago, and I think that was also the spark for me as well, because it was almost like healed from that. I've let go of that, and I've looked at my life, and I wasn't a big drinker or anything, but I've looked at my life, and I've been like, okay, what do I want for my kids? And I made the decision of, you know what, I just want to just not have any alcohol in my life, for my kids. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to seek her him again, won't I? To do other things. But we should get him on the call one day and do a 3-way think like discussion around it.
Yeah.
I'll get you a free session.
Yeah.
So okay then. If there's anything, do you think? Is there anything that we've missed that you think people could take from your journey today? Then.
I think nothing that we've missed, but I think the kind of main message for me is don't keep things locked up. Don't be afraid to speak up like I was for so long. Don't feel shame, because the more that you can open up and share what you've gone through, you'll be so surprised how supportive people are, how much other people can resonate with you. I mean, the amount I've shared now, people have actually messaged me separately and said, "Oh my God, that happened to me," and then you just connect. So I think the more you can just be open and don't keep it bottled up, because all that does is it manifests in other areas of your life. As I said, this year, me opening up and working on myself, it has just improved so many different aspects of my life. I couldn't be on this podcast talking the way I am now. I couldn't be, speaking at events and speaking at workshops and things like that if I hadn't done all this work. So yeah, that would really be it. Just be open, and you'll connect with people.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's one of my final questions, really. My final 3 questions is, what piece of advice would you give to somebody? So you've already kind of answered that. But before I do go on to my other final questions, so for you, the beginning of leading your own ways started really only in the last, 6 to 9 months, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely always been driven and to do what I want to do. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go traveling. I'm going to ask this guy that I've only just been dating to come with me. So I've always been like, this is what I want to do. But I think the difference is, in some of them, and like in my career and stuff, I was kind of dragged a little bit of, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Whereas what I'm doing now is I'm actually tapping into, what do I actually want to do? What do I really want to do? And then I'm going after it and just going for it. I'm like, oh, I want to be a public speaker. I'm going to work out how I can do that, rather than saying, oh, that's not for someone like me. So I think that's the difference this year.
The more I've got into this conversation with you, I see myself in you, or the other way around, which way, I don't know which way the right way would be. But we share a very, very similar journey. And what you've just said there, I resonate with so well. Like I feel like I was being dragged in my career. I always knew I wanted to be a principal, but people would block me or hurt me or disengage with me, but I'd still be being dragged in it, right? And I wasn't taking charge of a situation. I'm driven like you. I moving to the side of the world, chasing everything I've ever wanted to get. And I would say 90% of the things I've wanted, I've chased and I've got. I've failed and I've got it wrong, but I've never been stopped. I've worked in the private and the state and the Catholic system. I've always wanted to open a school. I got to open a school. I've been driven, but that imposter syndrome still always kicked in. But deep down, like you, I wasn't doing truly what I wanted. I was ticking boxes for the sake of ticking boxes. I was sick of it. And people now, I can hear it in their voices. I tell them, I'm a casual teacher. Oh, so when are you going to go back to work? No, I do. I work. I casually teach every day, but I don't want to go back to teaching.
Yeah.
And I was scared of saying that to people, because it might not want them to give me a job if I decided to. But I've got to. For me, there's no plan B. This is what I want to do, and I see that with you. You're doing what you want to do. I feel like I'm behind you in that journey, but I'm on it. I'm on the track.
Yeah.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
definitely see, I felt like we've connected in the last 20 minutes because I've been able to resonate with you in that professional sense so much in terms of our character and personality.
Yeah, and it's funny you say there's no plan B, because actually I got that from Stephen Bartlett. When
Ah,
I first started the business, and back in my head, I was speaking to a few recruiters, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll get some contract marketing work, while I build up the business. And when I was listening to his audiobook, he said, if you can, obviously some people have to, if they, if you're the only breadwinner and stuff like that, but if you can, don't have a plan B.
yeah.
Because if you have a plan B and something to fall back on, you're less likely to go for it.
Now you've said it, I
Mm.
remember it. That
Mm.
book was the easiest book to read,
Yeah,
by
it's
the way.
brilliant.
I,
Yeah.
I got to page 100 and I'm like, I've never read a book so fast. And by the way, that's where I met Karim at Stephen
Mm.
Bartlett. He sat next
Wow.
to me. That's how we met.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah, I
was.
think I knew that actually. I listened to that episode. Yeah, yeah.
And my friend bought my basketball team bought the tickets for me to go to that as a
Mm.
present to say thank you. And
Mm.
my ticket got upgraded. So if it hadn't got upgraded, I wouldn't have sat next to Karim.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it's amazing how we met. But yeah, I remember that bit, and I didn't get that. I didn't remember it from that. But now you said it. But
Mm.
yeah, if you do have a plan B, it's so right.
Mm.
I have to teach every day
Yeah.
to pay for the house. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm homeless, so I have to do that.
Yeah.
Could I put this amount of time in the day doing this? I absolutely could. I think that equals to the burnout. And I
Mm.
think any normal person would have quit by now because I'm not seeing anything from it. I'm not seeing an income from it, which that's not why I've done it.
Yeah.
But if I could do this and have like a TED talk behind me or things like that, I am actually training myself. Neuroplasticity, training myself to do a TED talk.
Love it. I'm
And
doing a TED
Karim,
Talk workshop on Saturday, so you know how it goes.
oh, nice. Oh, well, I should look into it. But I'm at the stage where I'm just training my head
Yeah.
to walk down that path. That's why I've had Karim on it. I've had the guest this week is a TEDx talker.
Yeah.
I've got another TEDx talker coming up. I've had 4 or 5 TEDx talkers on here, and they're inspiring me as well as you as going and doing what we really want to do. And I think that's a powerful message to everybody out there that is listening, who's in that messy middle. You know what? Simple advice. Just do it. Just start. Small, simple step. Just give it a go.
Yeah. Have the big goal, and then just take little small steps towards it, and try not to be as impatient as I am.
Yeah, well, I see myself in you. Sometimes I'll look every day at all these stats, and they're not where I want them to be. But the guy who's coming to see me, he was my second guest. He was a drummer from a band in Manchester, and he's been my basketball brother my whole life, and he's always looked out for me. And he said to me, Andy, this time last year, would you have ever thought that you're speaking to the people that you're speaking to? And I always said no. He said, then it doesn't matter what you're not bringing in or what views you're getting, because look at the people you are connecting with now. You would never have thought you're speaking to these leadership gurus or these authors, personal development, neurologists, cognitive health coaches, singers, whoever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
People who have built an empire like yourself, and he was right. He's so right. Not that I was getting down about that. I didn't have any doubt about that. But you sometimes think, oh, why is it not where it is yet? And at the end of the day, 30 episodes in, at this point of recording anyway, yours will probably be more like 40, 45.
Yeah.
But you see my point, right? So
Yeah.
we bring this up because I feel like the journeys can be quite similar. But I'm so proud of you of what you've built, because I think Karim has definitely. I feel you've made me think that I need to do more with him, to be fair.
Well, I'm always passing on business, so why stop now? Eh?
All right. Well, coming down towards the end of the episode, then my next question to you would be, what are the future plans? I feel like you've already answered it, but it is one of my questions. Yeah, what is the future plans apart from the book? Where's the business going to go?
My vision's really clear. So I foresee that I will be running workshops within organizations, with talk about brand storytelling, but also storytelling for leadership teams. So I see me doing that across organizations and speaking at events. So I foresee myself being a paid public speaker. That's a big dream of mine that I'm working towards. So it's all going to be around speaking. I'll still do writing for a select few one-on-one clients, but I see a lot of it is around the speaking and the connection, and then writing for those that I choose to, and being able to live a more flexible life. So then I can be here for my kids when they're at school, and I can pick them up from school and drop them off. So that's kind of what I foresee in the future, and then of course the book too.
Yes, of course the book. But yeah, no, I love that life, that vision for you. It's amazing. What would be the topic of? Would the topic of your conversations be around connection, or would it be again around the brand store and bringing your business into those conversations?
So what, within organizations?
Said you do speeches on stage.
Oh no, that's so more on stage. Well, it depends. If it's for a corporate audience, then yeah, it would be storytelling within business and
Yeah.
how you can connect with teams, stakeholders, investors, customers. But then on a more general sense, I talk around it's all around change the narrative. And it's like what we've been talking about. It's inspiring people to really look at their real story, because I think a lot of us haven't even, like I certainly had. I was telling a particular perspective of my story. So it's imploring people to actually look at what is your real story and encouraging them to write that story and share it, and just share it with one person to begin with, see how it makes you feel, and then share it with more people. So I've got like a framework that I talk through to encourage people to do that. So yeah, it's all around that, changing the narrative, because I believe that we can all change our narrative to whatever narrative we want that to be. We just need to look at it and dig into it and ultimately share it and connect.
Couldn't agree more.
Mhm.
Final question for you, Alex, before we go and let you go to sleep finally, because it is 11 p.m. for you, and I know you'll be up early for the kids. But if you could put this into one simple sentence for me, and I ask every guest this, and it's usually answered pretty well in the conversations that we have. But if you could put it into one line, what is your purpose?
My purpose is to inspire everyone to own their story and connect with the world around them.
Perfect, Alex. What a great way to end the episode. Thank you once again for appearing on Leading Our Own Way. A lot of people will be able to take a lot, especially for those who, from every angle, of coming from childhood, where they have to reflect on their childhood, where they have to reflect on losing somebody close to them, and a true, authentic feeling around parenting and the disconnect that we can experience. I've certainly experienced it. I sometimes still experience it. And I think we just need to be vulnerable and open, which you have. So I really appreciate that. I think you created a safe space for other people to feel that alongside you. And anyone who's also in that messy middle of changing career and just wanting to go for it, you've done it. So why not give it a try? It's been awesome. So thank you for joining me on my journey. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
Have a great night, and we'll have a great night. Alex, before you go to bed, but everyone else who's going to join us, please come back next week for another great guest. Have a great week. Until then, we'll speak soon. Thanks for listening and watching Leading Our Own Way. So we can stay together forever and share more incredible journeys, please subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss next week's episode and what that amazing guest has to offer to the world. Please support Leading Our Own Way, and we'll get you on next week's episode.